Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This is part 3 in my mini-series of hacking GCP or Google Cloud Platform. If you missed parts 1 or 2, I highly recommend you watch those ones before this one, otherwise you are going to be lost. But in the previous video in part 2, we finally gained initial access to the target GCP environment because we were able to retrieve an access token for a service account. Now I gave you a little bit of homework at the end of part 2. If you haven't done that homework, pause this video and do it now. But the homework was, hey, you have an access token for a GCP service account. How can you abuse that? How can you use that to gain access to the GCP environment? And we're going to dive into that together. There's a few different things we might be able to do, but I also want to be clear. I am not an expert by any means at GCP. GCP is relatively new to me, and to be honest, I find GCP somewhat confusing. The reason I wanted to start making videos on GCP is I tend to learn better when I'm forced to teach or explain things, so I'm just gonna wing it. We're gonna learn together. I'm sure I'm gonna fall into some crazy rabbit holes, but let's go ahead and do our best. And hey, looking at chat, we got Ko-Fi bot, we got memory corruption with the donation over on Ko-Fi. You are amazing. Thank you so much for the support. And for those of you watching the standalone video, you might notice there's chat up here. That's because I'm making this video while I'm live streaming. So people like Memory Corruption are in the live studio chat. If you want to be in the live studio, hey, go ahead and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Hit that little bell notification thingy so that you will get notified when I go live. But seriously, thank you so much, Memory Corruption, for your generosity. Let me pull up Ko-Fi on my other screen so I can give you a proper thank you. For those of you watching this video after the fact, you can also give. If you appreciate my content, you can do it on Ko-Fi, you can do it on YouTube, however you want to do it. But Memory Corruption, thank you for the donation. Thank you for the $2. You are amazing. I really do appreciate it. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive in right where we left off. So at the end of last video, we were able to query the metadata endpoint with the RCE that we were able to retrieve, and we have this access token right here. So step number 1 is I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and let me zoom in a little bit here in Kaido. To do that, it's Control, Shift, and then the plus on your keyboard, and I'm going to grab the access token. Let me pull my face over here so you guys can actually see what I'm copying. We're going to grab the access token right here. Just everything in this quotation. Control C on my keyboard. Go over to my terminal. And I'm going to do nano, let's call it token.txt. And I'm going to paste in that full token. Control XY, cat token. And there is our token. I'm going to grab me. Oh, no, geez, I'm moving the wrong stuff. Grab me. I'll move myself back over here so I'm not in the way of the terminal. So there we have our token. Now, there's a few different things that we can do, but when it comes to any type of cloud pen testing, which, by the way, I have a course all about this. So before we go any further, I do have to share with you a word from our sponsor. If you want to get into cloud pen testing, really the top cloud provider right now is AWS, and I have a course all about that. So before we continue, let me give you really quick a word from our sponsor, and then we will dive into this token. To succeed as a pen tester in 2025 and beyond, you need to understand cloud pen testing. I created an entire course, Introduction to AWS Pentesting, which is 65 hands-on lessons taught by me, a real pen tester, not just a silly InfoSec influencer. This course is available right now for only $34.99. I could have easily charged hundreds of dollars for this course, but I wanted it to be affordable and accessible. Link is in the description. There you go. And hey, that course is going to be going up to $49.99. So I do recommend you purchase it now rather than waiting if you buy it before the end of this weekend. And I'm recording this on Friday, June 13th. It is on sale for Father's Day. Use the code DAD20 on checkout and you get 20% off the price of $34.99. All right, let's dive back into this. We have our token.txt right here. I'm curious in chat, for those of you watching the live stream, does anyone know how I can use this token to authenticate over to GCP? Anyone have any ideas? What we're going to do right now is let's do some reading of our own. We'll do some learning. I can actually turn off Q right here. Let's go over to our browser, and there's a few different websites that we can use, but one that I like, and I like DuckDuckGo for my search engine for hack tricks. It just works better. But let's go and do hack tricks GCP. Let's see what we can all do with GCP Pentesting. Which, how do I turn on freaking dark mode? What is this crazy light mode? I need to install Dark Reader. For those of you who don't realize this, I'm actually doing all of this on PwnedCloud OS. This is an operating system built by PwnedLabs specifically for cloud pen testing. I have a video that gives you step-by-step instructions on installing this. Go ahead and check out that video, but that's what I'm using. So this is my first time using it on stream. So I'm kind of setting up the machine as we work through this as we work through this lab, so I can give some feedback to PwnedLabs as I do it. But you can download it as well. Try it out for yourself. But that's why I don't have my normal like extensions and everything. But let's go ahead and download the Dark Reader extension, add it to Brave, add extension real quick. And that should fix it. There we go. Okay, much better. My hacker eyes cannot do that light mode craziness. I'm going to scroll through here. When it comes to any type of cloud pen testing, once you get some type of credentials in the cloud, whether it's AWS, Azure, or GCP, the first step is to enumerate. Is Bing behind your crack? I have no idea what you're talking about, okay. But the first thing I'm going to do is to figure out what permissions do I have in this environment. And in the cloud, they call this IAM, or Identity and Access Management. So we have a token for some type of service account, but now we want to figure out what does this service account actually have access to. So you can see this. We have a few different things. In GCP, you can try several options to try to guess who you are. That is for the access token. So we could try that. Let me scroll through here. Some user info. I don't know if that would actually work. Org enumeration. Services enumeration. And I don't think it has what we actually need here. Because what we need to figure out first, when it comes to GCP or Google Cloud Platform, you have different projects. Projects are like accounts in some ways within the wider GCP account. Projects can hold different resources, different servers, different virtual machines. So we want to figure out what project we are working in within our access token. So we want to figure out what projects are in the account, and we can actually hit the metadata endpoint and query that some more with the RCE we have. I believe this is Hacking the Cloud GCP. That has the best resources on that. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, did you guys just see that? Who is that guy? Hacking Google Cloud Platform. If you haven't seen part 1, there it is. You should check it out. Anyways, Hacking the Cloud. We'll go to GCP. We'll go to metadata and Google Cloud instances. And now there's a few different things that we can look at just from our MetaCloud instance. So to view scope, that might be helpful. Here's what I'm interested in. We can view project metadata and we can view instance metadata. So let's first try to view the project metadata. I'm going to grab this URL right here. Actually, we can do this full thing. I'm going to copy that, go over to Kaido, and I'm going to paste this in. It's going to mess it up because we need to fix a few things. First, get that back up on the correct line. We can remove that slash, and we need to URL encode it. So I'm going to highlight all of this, right-click, convert, replace, URL encode, and hit send. Oh, our shell went bye-bye. All right. Let me redo our shell. Hit send. Okay, so we don't have much there. It just says enable guest attributes true, enable OS config true. I was hoping we'd get more information than that. How about to view the instance metadata? Let's check this out. No, really, I just need this URL right here. Actually, I guess I'll need all of it to get it so it's right in Kaido. And if you're wondering why my shell disappeared, because this is a shared lab, at least I'm pretty sure it is, there's probably a cleanup script that automatically removes that shell.php. So if that happens to you, just make sure you keep your request and you can very quickly re-add the shell. URL encode that and click send. Okay, so now we have a little bit of information. We have some SSH keys. Now, these are public keys, so this doesn't actually give us access to anything. These are just the public SSH keys. It does show us a username, ian@shopgigantic.com, but other than that, nothing that's really helpful to us. What else can we do as far as metadata enumeration? If I just hit the full metadata thing right here, maybe that will give us some more information. Like I said before, guys, I'm far from an expert when it comes to GCP. I'm quite literally learning as I go. So we will figure this out together. Let's URL encode this and hit send. Okay, so now we have some more information. Instance attributes. Okay, we already have some of that. Some instance information. We have our host name, which actually gives us our project name right there. Now, if you know, here I'm going to grab, well, I'll grab all of this. Let me grab this right here and drop this in our notes. Call this getting project information via metadata. That's our request. I'm also going to turn on word wrap. And then we'll show the response. Paste that in. And now if you know some things about GCP, you know that we have our host name, we have the region that the stuff is located in, and we have the GCP project that we are working within. That GCP project information is important because as we enumerate things, we need to know what project we are in. So we're going to want to grab that, and I'm just going to go down here. We also see it right here. Project ID project. So we'll say we know the project is grprod2, and we can use that information along with the access token that we downloaded to begin doing some enumeration. Now, I do want to look back at the top because remember when it comes to PwnedLabs, they give us some hints, like here are the things you're looking for. So let's walk through this. Identify SQL injection to gain command execution. Done. We've done that. Identify service account creds and instance metadata. Done. We have done that. Now we need to identify dangerous GCP permissions. Okay, we can do that. Actually, I have a custom script I made. I think I'll be able to show it off for you guys. It's in my GitHub that might allow us to do that as far as enumerating some GCP permissions. But let's do some things manually with that token that we found. One command that we can run. So we have our token.text, and I think this is the correct syntax here. If we do gcloud, oh, look at this. I don't even have the gcloud CLI installed. If you remember my install video about the PwnedLabs OS, they have tooling up here for AWS and Azure, but GCP is coming in later 2025. One big tool that we need to work with GCP is the gcloud CLI or command line interface. So let me very quickly show you how to download the command line interface on Linux, and we can go ahead and begin working with it. We'll go to my browser. I'll just go to this one right here, and we're going to do install gcloud CLI. We'll go to Google's documentation. It's a pretty easy process. We'll download this, go to my terminal, and I'm going to go to my home. I'm going to make a directory called tools, and we'll save it there. We'll do the curl command. Shouldn't take too long, I don't think. There we go. ls, we're going to open that up, tar xf Google Cloud. ls again, we'll go into the directory that we just made. I'm going to clear my screen so it's back to the top. And now we just need to run install.sh. So I'm going to go ahead and run that script. It says, welcome to Google Cloud CLI. Do you want to help improve? No. I don't want to help you improve. I'm going to do Y to continue. We'll do enter, and it is done. Now we do have to reopen our terminal. But now we have Google Cloud installed. Congratulations, you are well on your way to doing GCP hacking because we just installed the Google Cloud CLI. So let's continue now that we have the Google Cloud CLI. Make sure I'm not missing anything in chat. I am not. Awesome. I'm sure you're all just paying attention, taking really good notes as we work through it. That's what I'm going to imagine to myself. But now let me show you how we can use that token that we found to begin enumerating the Google Cloud project that we also found. One command that we can run is this to get some more project information. We can do gcloud projects get IAM policy, and now we need to grab that project name wherever that was, grprod2. We can do format equals JSON. And now we want to say access token file equals token. Oh, I think it's a space, not an equals. Token.text like that, I think. Boom. And I am correct. So we can let me grab this for our notes and I'll walk through what we just did and some of the information that we are given. Go back over to my notes and we'll say enumerating project IAM information. So when we run this file, we're using our access token to authenticate to the Google Cloud project of grprod2. Specifically, what we're doing is we're getting the IAM policy, or we want to see the different members and roles that are available in the GCP project, because potentially one of these might lead to privilege escalation. So we have POS inventory. I think that's actually us right now. We have this service account, a built-in GCP service account. Go through here, a compute account. See if there's anything that's interesting. Security admin, logging viewer. We have Ian as the role owner. We have a pub sub service account. HMAC key admin. So if we could compromise this role, we could actually generate HMAC keys, which are sort of like passwords for other accounts, which would allow us to elevate access. Web security scanning. I mean, nothing that's super interesting to us, but if we look back at what we're supposed to do over on scope, we need to identify some dangerous GCP permissions and gain situational awareness using cloud asset inventory. So let's work on identifying dangerous GCP permissions. Now, if you don't know what those are, well, that's okay, because that's where Google comes in handy. We'll just jump back over to Google and we'll just say, GCP privilege escalation. You can see Rhino Security Labs, which is actually where I happen to work right now. We have some information on GCP IAM privilege escalation. We have some exploit scripts and a prevest scanner, and we have a list of all potentially vulnerable GCP permissions, which means if you compromise an account that has one of these permissions, you might be able to elevate your privileges or perform lateral movement. Now, I will say this is an older GitHub and some of it doesn't work. The last update was a year ago, and that was actually from me. So I'm the last person that updated this repo, but like the prevest scanner is pretty old. I think I personally had issues getting it to work. So I actually made my own, and I'll show this to you guys because you can also use it. If you go to github.com, Tenebrae 93 is my GitHub. See, that cool guy? And you go over to my repos, I have a repo for GCP tooling. And I just have one script in here that brute forces permissions and then tries to identify any permissions that might be vulnerable. And I can walk you through this script. It should make sense. So first, I created this permissions to test. I literally just copied these permissions from right here. So I have those permissions to test, and all this is going to do is it's going to go ahead and grab the project ID. So it's going to accept that as an argument and accept the access token as an argument. And it's going to go ahead and test what permissions we have. And it will print off a list of, hey, here is some potentially vulnerable permissions that we might be able to work with. Yeah, Tom Cruise did not get to me. Definitely not Chad. So a very simple Python script that should do this for us. And once again, you can just grab this yourself from my GitHub, add to it, make it even better. It is very simple right now. But I'm going to go ahead and do a nano, and we'll just call this, I don't know what I called it in my GitHub. I called it IAM brute force permission. So IAM brute force permissions.py. We'll paste that in, save it. And now if we Python 3, you can see brute force check GCP permissions with an access token. So it accepts a project ID and it accepts a token. So let's go ahead and run this. Our project ID is whatever that weird project name was that we had before. grprod2. And our token, I know that's not going to work, but I don't remember our token. There we go. Our token, I'm going to put it in single quotes. We'll grab this full token and paste it in. Hit enter on our keyboard, and look how quickly it did this. It says, these are the permissions that we have been granted in the project grprod2. And it goes through all of those potentially vulnerable permissions, and there's one that's allowed. Storage, HMAC, keys, create. So there we go. My little custom script in like, I don't know, half of a second just enumerated our permissions way faster than if we went through and ran each one of those curl requests manually. So pretty awesome. You can get that tool from my GitHub free of charge. That is my gift to you. But it found that it has storage HMAC keys create. One thing, if you want to make a pull request, would be to add to my script so that if it finds a permission, it can automatically exploit that permission, which would be really cool if we were able to set that up. But let's grab this for our notes. Oh, that's crazy. Definitely not Chad. Yeah, sorry to hear that. We'll do an H1 identifying dangerous GCP permissions. And we have my script in there. And because we should always include where we got our script from, I mean, I trusted that script because, I mean, I made the script, so hopefully I can trust myself. But we'll drop a link in there. And there we have the script. So we want to figure out this permission and what we're able to do with it. But before we exploit that, I think it would be good for us to do a little more enumeration, because it does say in our steps, scroll up, we want to gain situational awareness. Actually, we had a hint here, create HMAC keys to move laterally. So if we didn't use my script, you could kind of guess what that is. So we've identified dangerous permissions. Now we want to gain situational awareness using Cloud Asset Inventory. By that, it means we want to identify what resources are in this account, how might they be abused, what can we do with those. So let's figure out what exactly Cloud Asset Inventory is. We'll make a new H1, and we'll do Cloud Asset Inventory Enumeration, and let's read about it. Cloud Asset Inventory is a global metadata inventory service that lets you view, search, export, monitor, and analyze your Google Cloud Asset metadata with up to 35 days of create, update, and delete history. Assets that haven't changed in the past 35 days report their latest status. Blah, 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 blah. How can I use it? List assets, get assets, search for resources, query. How about search for resources? You can search for resources in a project folder org and filter the return results using a query. Okay. Google Asset Search All Resources. I think we can just pass it our token again. I think. What if I just run this command and I give it the token? Let's try it. So gcloud assets, is it assets or asset? Search all resources. Access token, actually, I think, is the proper access token file. Okay, we need to set our project. Gcloud config set project grprod2. I don't know if I need an access token file for this. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, it worked. But my goodness, that is a lot of information. Let's look at our goal, and maybe it'll give us a hint of what resources we should be looking at. Our team has landed a new engagement. The global retailer client has revised a list of IPs. You are currently assessing that. The end scope is application of the resources environments. Create HMAC keys. Leverage predictable. Okay, GCP buckets. What if we filter by GCP buckets and we get a list of GCP buckets? That seems like it would be the most helpful. So let's read through how we can do that. So asset types. A common server list of searchable asset types. Can we just do buckets? Resource types. bucket. Cloud storage. So is this how I would do it? All right, here is where we kind of stumble around, and we are going to learn something though in the process of how we're supposed to list out these assets and figure out what we're supposed to be working with. Where did my bucket go? Whoops, cloud storage. Maybe I need to go to API reference. Guys, I'm telling you, GCP confuses me compared to like AWS. Maybe it's just bucket. Well, let's go ahead and try it, shall we? So we need to specify asset types. So we'll do our same command, but we're going to give it okay, it's not bucket, so it must be that longer like API name. Potentially. Is it like that? There we go. Okay. So it was that second one. So that gives us a list of buckets. So maybe that will come in handy. Buckets, if you took my AWS course, we talked about S3 buckets. Well, Google has similar things. I like to think of cloud storage like FTP in the cloud. Very like simplified explanation there. But when it comes to FTP on a traditional CTF, if you can gain access to an FTP server, you can gain access to sensitive data. That's true with buckets, whether it's AWS, S3 buckets, Google Cloud buckets, or Azure Blob Storage, all have very similar vulnerabilities. Here we have a list of all the buckets in the account. We have GR data migration. We have GCF sources managed by Cloud Functions. We have GR inventory storage. Let's just go ahead and grab all of this, and we'll add that to our notes. Whether or not it will come in handy, I don't know, but we'll just say figuring or listing out all buckets. And we'll drop that information in there. Now let's go back to our scope again and remember what we're all working with. So far we've identified dangerous GCP permissions. We have the HMAC permissions there. We were able to gain situational awareness using Cloud Asset Inventory, and we have two more steps. We need to create HMAC. We need to create HMAC keys to move laterally, and we need to leverage predictable GCP bucket naming conventions. So two more things to work on, but we are at the end of part 3 on this series of hacking GCP. So this is the end of part 3, and part 4, which will be the final part in this little mini series on hacking GCP, we will work on moving laterally, and we'll see if we can complete this lab and locate the final flag. But hey, thank you so much for taking the time to work with me through now 3 parts in this series. Hope you learned a lot in the process. I will catch you in part 4 as we finish out this lab. See you then.